Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make some almond paste puff pastries. So I have another sheet of puff pastry waiting to be used, so I thought I would get that used up fairly quickly. This is a very simple recipe. You simply make an almond paste, which is similar to marzipan but not so sweet. And you can make that days in advance or a week in advance if you want. It helps to develop the flavour a little bit. But when making almond paste, you add in a little bit of egg or egg white, up to you. And it's best not to do that until the day you're going to use it. But as I said, a very simple recipe. We simply make the paste. I'm going to make it today and use it tomorrow. And then we unfurl our pastry, cut it into squares, fill it with some almond paste and bake it. A little bit of chilling goes on in between times. So very, very easy. And with that said, I'll go on to the ingredients. And for the almond paste, I have here 100 grams, which is 3.5 ounces or 1 cup of ground almonds. If you don't have ground almonds, you can use whole blanched almonds in the same weight, 100 grams, 3.5 ounces. I have 100 grams, half a cup of caster sugar. I'm going to use 1 egg beaten, and this is a medium egg, which would be large in the USA. I have the zest from 1 lemon, and I have here 5 millilitres, 1 teaspoon of almond extract. It's optional and you can use between 2.5 millilitres to 5 millilitres, half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon if you're going to use it. That gives an extra almond flavour. And then I have 1 sheet of puff pastry, which will be ready to use tomorrow. I will thaw that out overnight. So that's all the ingredients, and what we need to do is to make our almond paste minus the egg, and I'm going to chill mine overnight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ground almonds and the sugar into the bowl of my processor, and this is particularly important if you're using whole blanched almonds because you need to grind them down until they're very fine. Add the sugar. I'm going to process those, which will break the sugar down a little bit more and make everything a little bit finer. So I've processed that for about a minute and it's nice and fine now. So I'm going to put that into a bowl, and then I'm going to add in my lemon zest. And I should say, I think I forgot in the ingredients to mention that I have some water, but we're going to use very little of it. So I put my lemon zest in, and I'll just give that a bit of a mix through. And then I'll add in my almond extract. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my water in, a teaspoon at a time. And I'm going to mix that through until it becomes a paste. I don't want it to be too wet. So I'll add a 2nd teaspoon in. And then a 3rd one. And I think I can do a 1/4 teaspoon. And I can see that it's beginning to clump a little bit, and then I'm going to use a spatula to press it and see how it clumps together. And it's getting there, but it still needs a little drop more water. And if you decide you've used too much water, you can always add in a little bit more almond flour. And that's beginning to look quite good, I think. Yep, that's good. So then I'm going to form that into a log. So I'm going to pick that up in my hand and squeeze it together. As you can see, that comes together quite nicely and it's not too wet. So I'm going to form it just into a log like that. I'm going to wrap it up in plastic wrap, and I'm going to put that into the fridge until tomorrow. And then tomorrow I'll come back and we will add some beaten egg into that to loosen it up a little bit, and then we will work with the pastry and fill the pastry with the almond paste ready to bake. So it's the next day now, and I have beaten my egg because we're going to use a little bit of this to make the almond paste that little bit softer, almost of a pipeable consistency, but I'm not going to pipe it. So I'm going to simply take my paste and break it into smaller pieces. And I'm going to use my hand mixer to mix this together, but you can do it by hand, it would be very easy. And then I'm going to pour just a little bit of my egg in there, and the remainder of the egg I will actually use for brushing and sealing the pastries. So with that egg in there, I'm going to whisk this and see what consistency it is once it all comes together. I'm actually going to put just a little drop more egg in. and give it another whisk. And I think that's about the consistency I want. Now, you can make it slightly softer than that if you want to, it's entirely up to you, but that's good enough for me. So I'm going to set that to one side while we work on the pastry. So I have unrolled my pastry sheet and I'm going to cut it in half lengthways down the middle. That will give me 2 strips of pastry. And then I'm going to cut each of those halves into 4 strips, and I'm just going to put a little bit of flour over the top of the pastry. This will stop it from sticking that little bit as I put the ruler on it. And it's best to work as quickly as you can with this puff pastry, and you need to keep it cool. So I'll cut it into 4 pieces for each strip, and I've marked mine out already, simply dividing the length by 4, which will give me rectangles, but they're almost square, so that would be fine. Like that. And then I'm going to put that into my freezer for about 10 minutes because I want the pastry to firm up before I start to put the almond paste on it and enclose it. So I'll come back in 10 minutes and we'll work on each piece individually. So I've taken one piece of pastry out after it's chilled and put it onto a lightly floured surface, and I'm going to put some of my almond paste on one half of it, and I'm going to use about 30 grams of almond paste. Like that, and I'm just going to press it down a little bit, and I'm leaving an area around the edge and then I would take some of my beaten egg and brush that around the edge of the pastry like that, and then I'm going to take the corner and press it down all the way round like that, and then I'm going to pick that up and put it onto a baking tray, and then I'll do the same with the remainder. So there I have 8 of my pastries shaped, and I've taken the tines of a fork and I've made a pattern around the edge, just sealing them a little bit more. like that. And I'm going to put those into the fridge now, and I'm going to chill them for 30 minutes. And as that 30 minutes comes to an end, I'm going to preheat my oven to 200 degrees Celsius, 180 Celsius with a fan, 390 Fahrenheit. And then after 30 minutes, I'll come back. I'm going to brush the top with some beaten egg and make a couple of slits in the top. And then I'm going to bake these almond paste puff pastries. So I've chilled my pastries for 30 minutes and my oven is preheated. So I'm going to brush the top of the pastry with beaten egg. That's good like that. So then I'm going to take a sharp knife and I'm going to just make a couple of slits in the top of each one. Like that. And I'm going to put those into the oven and I'm going to bake them for 25 minutes. Then after 25 minutes they should have gone a nice golden brown on the top. I'll take them out of the oven. I'll put them onto a wire rack to cool down. You could eat them warm, but I'm going to eat mine cold. So I'll come back once they've cooled down and show you what they look like. I baked my almond puff pastries for 25 minutes and they baked up very well indeed. So I'll show you what they look like. And as you can see, they've puffed up very nicely and nicely cooked underneath as well. So I'll have a taste of one. That's very, very good. That lovely sweetened almond paste that just has a slight hint of lemon as well from that zest. Very, very good. I'm tempted to eat more, but they're a bit messy, so I'll do that off camera. So this is a very simple recipe, and it's similar in flavour, of course, to those almond croissants that you can buy, where they have a little strip of almond paste rolled up into them. Of course, this isn't a this isn't a yeasted dough. It's just a puff pastry, but similar in taste. Very simple recipe. So that's going to be it for today. I hope you've enjoyed the recipe. If you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen, I will put a link to the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well. And I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.